शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशधारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमा प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरदशे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमोस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रे येन तया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपरिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। Welcome everyone, welcome once again to the class. We are studying Bhagavad-Gita as it is in Bhakti-sastri course. We are also studying Gita-sastri, chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga, or contents of the Gita summarized. So far we have done up to verse number 14, Matras Parishastu Konteya Sitoshma Sukhadukhada Agama Paino Nityastam Stitikshashva Bharata. Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that one should learn to tolerate the appearance and disappearance of happiness and distress, which appear and disappear like the summer and winter season. So they are not permanent, they are temporary, they will come and go, and we should tolerate. Right? So he's saying that in the discharge of your duty of fighting, if you are experiencing some inconvenience, discomfort, don't bother about it. You continue to do what you are supposed to do. Fine. What happens if you do that? If you become equipoised in situations which will bring us happiness or which will bring us suffering, what happens? So that is given in the verse 15. Such a person is able to taste. Taste what? Taste immortality. That person can experience immortality of the soul. And very soon that person even achieves immortality, which means a person comes at the platform of soul. That's the next verse, verse number 15. Yang hina vyathayantyete purushang purusharshava samadukha sukhang dhirang so amritatvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So here is the first time Krishna mentioning liberation. And that's what will become the goal of uh, performing one's duties in a detached manner, in a dutiful manner. You know, in future, this point will come up that if we are not supposed to work for happiness, what should we, make the purpose of our work? And the purpose is liberation from material existence. So this is being said here. That person becomes eligible for liberation. Mhm. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnashram institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyasa, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyas order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjuna's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. Mhm. Next verse. Na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satah ubhayor api drishtontas tvanayos tattvadarshibhihi. Krishna is telling Arjuna, na sato vidyate bhavaha. This verse is telling about sat and asat, permanent and impermanent. And one who understands both, that person is supposed to be a tattva-darshihi, uh, the seer of the truth. Fine. So, first line is na sato vidyate bhavaha, which means uh, for for the thing which is temporary, there is no possibility of eternal existence. It cannot exist forever. And na abhavaha vidyate sataha. And what is permanent will always remain permanent. No one can destroy it. These two lines mean like that. The detailed explanation of each of these concepts will be given in the verses 17 and 18. You can see that first line will be elaborated in verse 18. The second line will be elaborated in verse 17. Hmm? Translation. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that, of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance. And of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Mm. Purport. We'll read the purport. Hari Kripa Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada. There is no endurance to the changing body. That the body is changing every moment by the action and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science. And thus, growth and old age are taking place in the body. but the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalists and personalists. In the Vishnu Purana 2.12.38, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotismi Vishnu Puvanani Vishnu. The word existence and non-existence refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seeds of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by through study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme Being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural subsequences. The living entities being to the superior nature as it will be revealed in the seventh chapter, although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic. The energetic is accepted as the supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord. As in the case of master and the servant, are the teacher and the thought. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance. And to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad-Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time.
You. Next verse. Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvam idang tatam vinasham avyayasyasya na kaschid kartum arhati. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible, avinashi, which cannot be destroyed. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Hmm? So that which pervades the body, what pervades the body? The spirit soul pervades the body through its quality, or you can say its energy, known as consciousness. And that consciousness cannot be destroyed, or in other words, the soul cannot be destroyed. Um, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains about the soul and the consciousness quite much in detail. So we'll read through this purport paragraph by paragraph and try to understand the individual points. Purport, the first paragraph, Arati Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. This verse more clearly explains the real nature of the soul, which is spread all over the body. Anyone can understand what is spread all over the body. It is consciousness. Everyone is conscious of the pains and pleasures of the body in part or as a whole. This spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. The pains and pleasures of one body are unknown to another. Therefore, each and every body is the embodiment of an individual soul, and the symptom of the soul's presence is perceived as individual consciousness. This soul is described as 1/10,000th part of the upper portion of the hair point in size. The Shveta-vatara Upanishad 5.9 confirms this. Balagra Shata Bhagasya Shatadha Kalpitasya Cha Bhago Jivas Sa Vigneyaha Sa Chanantyaya Kalpate. When the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. Similarly, the same version is stated Keshagra Shata Bhagasya Shatamshaha Sadrashatmakaha Jiva Sukashma Swarupoyam Sankhya-tito Hichit Kanaha. There are innumerable particles of spiritual atoms, which are measured as 1/10,000th of the upper portion of the hair. Should I continue, Prabhu? Or?
Okay, no problem. Someone else can continue. Chanakya Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Therefore, the individual particle of spirit soul is a spiritual atom smaller than the material atoms, and such atoms are innumerable. This very small spiritual spark is the basic principle of the material body, and the influence of such a spiritual spark is spread all over the body as the influence of the active principle of some medicine spreads throughout the body. This current of the spirit soul is felt all over the body as consciousness, and that is the proof of the presence of the soul. Any layman can understand that the material body minus consciousness is a dead body, and this consciousness cannot be revived in the body by any means of material administration. Therefore, consciousness is not due to any amount of material combination, but to the spirit soul. In the Mundaka Upanishad 3.1.9, the measurement of the atomic spirit soul is further explained. Esho anuratma chetasha vidit veditavyo yasmin pranaha panchada samvishesha pranaischitam sarvamotam prajanam yasmin vishuddhe vibhavatyesha atma. The soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. This atomic soul is floating in the five kinds of air: prana, apana, vyana, samana, and udana. It is situated within the heart and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the five kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the five kinds of air, encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. So the constitution of the atomic soul is admitted in all Vedic literatures, and it is also actually felt in the practical experience of any sane man. Only the insane man can think of this atomic soul as all-pervading Vishnu Tattva. The influence of the atomic soul can be spread all over a particular body. According to the Mundaka Upanishad, this atomic soul is situated in the heart of every living entity, and because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul. The individual atomic soul is definitely there in the heart, along with the supersoul, and thus all the energies of the bodily movement are emanating from this part of the body. The corpuscles which carry the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. Such atomic particles of the whole spirit whole are compared to the sunshine molecules. In the sunshine, there are innumerable radiant molecules. Similarly, the fragmental parts of the Supreme Lord are atomic sparks of the rays of the Supreme Lord, called by the name Prabha, or superior energy. So, whether one follows Vedic knowledge or modern science, one cannot deny the existence of the spirit soul in the body, and the science of the soul is explicitly described in the Bhagavad-Gita by the personality of Godhead himself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's very, very informative purport. Before we came to Krishna consciousness, we never had understood, or at least even heard about the soul in such depth, with so much of precision on that. So nicely, beautifully here it's explained how the Atma is. We'll look at some points again and then discuss on them. So first is, what is the soul? That is explained. Very simply, it is given. It is an atomic particle of the spirit whole. It's like a sunshine molecule. So it's like a particle. Uh, if you look at the sun is emitting huge amount of sunlight. There's no limit to it. And what is that light made up of? That light is made up of very tiny particles. You know? Sometimes we can even see those particles, right? Uh, when you see the sunlight passing through a window, a glass window, you can sometimes see those particles floating in the air. So if the Lord is like that huge sun emitting the effulgence, the supreme effulgence, then the soul is just a tiny particle in that, just like a sunshine molecule. That's how insignificant or tiny it is. The nature of it is avinashi. What is the symptom of its existence? The symptom is it has consciousness. Why? Because it is made up of consciousness. So it has consciousness, right? It's made up of consciousness and it has consciousness. Consciousness is both the material which makes the soul, and consciousness is also the quality that the soul has. Fine. So,
Prabhuji, I have a
yes,
question.
ma'am.
Uh, Here it's mentioned like symptom is individual consciousness, right?
Yeah.
But based on the body, the soul is present, the consciousness also changes, no? Like if it
Yeah,
takes a
yeah.
human body.
Yes. So that is because that consciousness has got covered. Originally, that consciousness is pure. It's the same of, but then because of the covering of the subtle body and the gross body, that consciousness is coming out in different ways, in different forms, in different personalities or living entities.
Then how can it be individual? It is like dependent.
Individual, individual means what? Individual means it's mine. So when there is a particular soul, so it has its individual, its own consciousness. Individual here means personal consciousness. The word individual here is given so as to let us not go into this wrong conception of having a supreme consciousness which is same for everyone. Right? Individuality is there. Therefore, it is said individual consciousness.
Okay, okay, Prabhuji.
Then is it the supreme consciousness? No. Why? Because this spreading of consciousness is limited within one's own body. Huh? That's why it's not the supreme consciousness. What is the size of the soul? Very nicely, two verses are given to explain. It's the 1/10,000th of the tip of the hair, which is almost like immeasurable and insignificant. Very, very tiny. Hmm. Now, how it can be perceived? That is a very good point in the purport. How can you perceive the soul? Can you directly see it with the naked eyes? Not possible. Can one see it by, let's say, some supernatural powers? Not possible. How do you perceive the soul? So the soul is perceived by one's intelligence.
Perfect
When the
intelligence.
intelligence becomes perfect, which means the intelligence becomes developed, then one is able to see the soul. Perfect intelligence, developed intelligence. Where is the soul located? Its location is also given. It is located in the heart, floating in 5 kinds of life airs: prana, apana, vyayana, samana, and udana. So in a body, there are 10 kinds of airs which are moving around, right? Which help the body function. So out of them, 5 are called life airs. The names are given. These 5 airs are circulating around the body. So in one place, these 5 airs, they come to a total balance. You can say zero balance by interacting with each other. So that is the place where the soul is residing. And that place happens to be the heart. Now, that doesn't mean the physical heart which we have, the organ heart, isn't it? That place in Sanskrit is called Antahakarana, which is different from the heart which the doctors transplant during heart surgery. That's different. There are many organisms which do not have a heart like we have, the pumping heart, you know. So, but the soul is in all the organisms. For example, the soul is in tree also. Now, tree doesn't have a heart like we have, but the soul is there, isn't it? So, in every body of the different types of living entity, there is a hridaya. And what is that place where the 5 airs they come to a balance of zero? That's the place, and that's where the soul resides within the body. Okay. And from there, the soul gives the body the energy to survive, to live. In the human body, from the soul, the heart gets the energy to continue pumping the blood. If the soul leaves the body, the heart will fail to pump, right? And then the person will die soon. Okay. Prabhupada explains also here in the purport from biological point of view how the consciousness flows through the body, right? The consciousness of the soul flows through the body through the blood. Wherever the blood goes, consciousness also goes. Where the blood stops going, consciousness also stops. Right? Therefore, we don't feel anything in the nails, the hair, because there is no blood coming there. So there is no consciousness there. Huh? Even if a part of the skin becomes dead, we don't feel much there because there is no consciousness flowing there, right? Paralysis basically means stop of flow of blood in that part of the body. So there is no consciousness there. So this is what happens. Now another question here. The size of the soul is given, but then at the same time, the soul is said to be immeasurable. Immeasurable means you can't measure it. But if the size is given, then it becomes measurable. If you look at the hair size is 25.4 micrometers. You divide it by 1 million. So you get a size which is small, but it's not as small as the size of an atom. An atom is more smaller. So why is it said that the soul is immeasurable if it can be measured actually? Why is it said to be immeasurable if it can be measured?
Prabhuji,
We have no instruments to measure it.
You have no instruments to measure it, but the size is already given. Keshagra Shatabhagasya Shatadha Kalpitasya cha.
It
So
is
how do we?
because it's not perceivable.
subtle.
It is not perceivable.
Yes,
That's why it is immeasurable.
exactly. It cannot be perceived. by our physical body or
So then why this verse is saying that if the hair tip is divided into 100 parts, then that is again divided into 100 parts. It could have just said, no, that it is immeasurable. Why is it giving a measurement to it?
Prabhuji,
to sort
because
of
through material vision or through material knowledge, we cannot get to the measurement of it.
To material knowledge, we cannot. But then we have nowadays microscopes which are very powerful, which can show things smaller than that. So now both the things have to be correct. When the scripture says it is immeasurable, it is immeasurable. It cannot be wrong. At the same time, we see that a size is being given to it. But then what is that size? If you look at it carefully, it is at the hair size. Isn't it interesting fact that the hair of every living entity, if you take the human body, the animal body, or some other beast or bird, do you think the hair size is going to be the same? Or people in Kali Yuga and Treta Yuga and Satya Yuga, they were much taller and bigger than people in Kali Yuga. So their hairs must be also very thick, no, compared to the hair size we have in Kali. So then is it that the size of the soul is different based on the body of the person? Is it possible? Even for humans, I think the hair doesn't have the same size. Some people have thick hair, some people have very thin hair. Correct. But as far as we understand, size of the soul has to be similar only, has to be same. So why it is given here that you divide the hair into 100 parts and then divide? Because it's just like telling someone to do something impossible.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it because the soul travels from different entities, maybe from animals to human to maybe trees? So that is why is it mentioned that it is immeasurable, because every entity will have different uh, body and different.
No,
The soul
yeah.
is going to travel different ways, right?
Yes. It is immeasurable, that is true. But at the same time, the size is also given. So why the size is given? Because just after this verse, which is there in Shvetashvatara Upanishad and also the other Upanishad, there is also a verse where you find the size of the supersoul. And the size of the supersoul is given as big as the thumb. Now again, a question arises. There are entities which are smaller than the thumb. Is that it? So how can supersoul be as big as the thumb? How is it possible? So now what do we understand from both of these verses? Do we go for the exact measurement which is given? No, that will be wrong, because we have another verse saying that they are immeasurable. Our material senses cannot perceive the soul. So then why these verses are given? Just to tell us that the super soul is much, 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 much bigger than the individual soul. One is as big as a thumb, which is a very big size compared to, take the hair tip, divide into 100 parts, take one part, divide it into 100 parts. So these verses are given for comparative analysis of the soul and the super soul. One is very big and the other is very tiny. But we don't take the literal meaning of the verse, which is what? The size given. That is not to be taken, because it cannot have a material size, right?
Prabhu,
So
can I?
just
Sorry.
a second. So the lesson is that we have to learn to harmonize the different truths which are given in the scriptures. How to understand it? How to understand it properly? Fine. Yes, Mataji. Now you can ask your question.
I think that point sort of gave me an answer when you said it. It
Yeah.
was just that, I mean, sometimes maybe, this knowledge is a bit inconceivable in the sense that, someone might question, okay, then if the Lord is present in the, the size of the thumb, why has someone never found the Lord in the human body, then it's just yeah.
So then you have to tell that that's not the only information given about the Lord. The another information is that he's inconceivable, he's invisible, you can't see him. So the point is, this is a very important point which generally people do as a mistake. They take only part of the scripture and they think that's all truth is. But you have to take the knowledge in toto, in completeness. And then if there is something which is contradicting with some other thing mentioned in the scripture, then you have to do a samanvaya. Samanvaya means you have to reconcile. Just like here we are trying to reconcile. One place it is said it is immeasurable. At the other place the measurement is given. So how do you prove that both are correct? Right? So the measurement is given not for literally telling you how big the soul is, but to give you some other message. What is that? One is very, very tiny and the other is relatively huge. To establish the point that there is a soul which is big and there is a soul which is minute. The big one is called super soul and the minute one is called soul.
Prabhu, one question.
And therefore, just a second, therefore once Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the big soul, the big soul, the bigger soul, and the biggest soul. And what did he want to say? The soul, the super soul, and Krishna. So the big soul, the bigger soul, the biggest soul. Yes, Mataji, Mataji.
Prabhu, like in small microorganisms, again, I mean, I don't know if I missed the point. I mean, you said super soul is the size of a thumb, and then atomic, I mean, the individual soul is very minute. But I mean, a very small microorganism is very small by as it is. So in that, like, how is the...
That's what we are trying to tell you here. Don't go for the literal meaning of the size given here. Don't go by that. That cannot be accepted as the literal thing. Why? Because it's also mentioned it is immeasurable. Now, by giving it a material size, you are measuring it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So we are measuring. So we cannot measure. But then why the measurement is given? Just for comparison.
Okay.
Comparison with the super soul.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Location of the soul, we discussed that. If the 5 kinds of airs, they come to a balance of 0 at a point, and that's where the soul is located. If you were a student of science, advanced mathematics, you might have studied something known as vector quantities. Vector quantities. Vector quantities means you not only take the unit, but you also consider the direction. Correct, isn't it? Like, for example, if my both my hands are pulling in the opposite direction and I'm still applying force, then what will happen? They will cancel each other's effect. Correct, isn't it? That's what we understand from vector mathematics. And if one hand starts pulling with a higher force, then the hand will move. So when the 5 airs, they come at a point and their vector force is 0. That's the place where the spirit soul is, confined by the 5 airs. And what is the process of Ashtanga Yoga? Sometimes also known as Kriya, sometimes also known as, the yoga of elevating your chakras. So what do the yogi do? The yogi will control these 5 kinds of airs by doing pranayama. Now that requires practice. And slowly lift the soul from one chakra to the higher chakra. And that's a very difficult task now. Just imagine about it. We as individuals don't even know what these 5 airs are inside our body. Isn't it? But the yogi is able to move them up by the practice of pranayama. Therefore, Prabhupada says it's a very mechanical process. very mechanical process to uplift your consciousness, to a higher level of chakra. Fine. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, one question.
Yes, Mataji.
So when people die, where does the souls that are coming back over and over again in the millions of years, where do they reside during that period, Prabhuji? That is one. The second question is the population is continuously increasing on planet Earth. Where are these souls? From which part of the planetary systems, or where are they coming from, Prabhuji?
First question, where are the souls residing when the soul leaves the body? Where does it go? No? So
Yes,
it has
Prabhuji.
its
If it is
journey. It has its journey.
I'm guessing it's going to Golaka Brindavan. But if it is not, where are they? Yeah.
It is going to the next destination. After the soul leaves the body, first of all, it is taken to Yamapuri, also known as Yamalok. So that journey is explained in Garud Puran. So after it goes to Yamalok, then it has to stand in the queue, waiting for a long, long time for the time when there's an appointment with Yamaraj. So then he goes to meet Yamaraj, and then he's told whatever good he has done, whatever bad he has done. And then for good, what rewards he or she will get, for bad, what punishment he or she will get. And then if it was a sinful person, he will be punished in different kinds of hells. A pious person, very pious, will go to heaven. And then from there, then the next destination, which will be some kind of body, animal body, plant body, this body, that body. So that's how they are just moving around from one place to another, to the other, to the other, right? Now, when your second question, the population is only increasing day by day. So do you think humans are only souls? What about animals, birds? So when you say population, whose population we know? Human population? Do we know the population of animals, the population of birds, the population of cockroaches, insects, fishes, germs? We don't. So then we don't really know whether, we don't have a count actually. So we can't say that the population is increasing, so new souls are coming or whatever,
Yes, Prabhuji. That makes sense. And
right?
just last question, that 5 different kinds of air, I'm guessing that's not of relevance here to explain, right? What are that 5 different airs?
The 5 different airs are defined. I mean, what are their functions? It's given in some other places. I think Srila Prabhupada talks about that in Srimad Bhagavatam. But then not much in detail, because this is not something which we can just understand like that. Only if we are doing yogic practices, we can experience those airs functioning in the body. Each one of them has a different function. Like one of these airs helps us to pass water and stool out of the body. One of the airs does that. The other air is which helps us in digestion in the body. Then there's another which will help us for breathing in. Then there's another one which helps us for breathing out, like that. So now how do you experience those airs? Only if you are doing some yoga, you're doing pranayam, you're going deeper inside, then maybe you can feel these airs functioning inside you. But still, it's a very difficult job. Okay, Mansi.
Yeah, Prabhu, one question. You said wherever blood flows, consciousness flows. When I say I am raising my consciousness, what does it relate to? I mean, in the sense, is the blood.
Consciousness flows means consciousness will be present there, because consciousness is pervading the whole body. So blood is the medium of consciousness. It's like, consciousness is something at a very subtle level, and blood is something at very gross level, isn't it? So there has to be a connection of the subtle plane to the gross plane, right? Isn't
Okay.
it? So the blood is the medium of connecting, the consciousness, which is at the subtle plane, to our awareness at the gross level. So blood
Okay.
carries that energy which is coming from consciousness. Hmm.
Okay.
Fine. Now raising the consciousness means what? Raising the consciousness means basically you are raising your awareness. What are you aware of, or what are you aware about?
Okay.
Like, to give you an example,
Mhm.
if I am sitting in a room, uh, my awareness can be in different things, or different, I mean, in different ways I can use my awareness, right? I can be just aware of how I am looking. So I can just be sitting in front of the mirror and looking at my body and be just aware of that, correct? That is one type of awareness. Hmm? Now, another type of awareness may be I'm looking at a cockroach, crawling on the floor. So I am aware of the object outside me, isn't it? Or I'm sitting in the room and I might be just aware of the sunshine coming from the window and entering the room and feeling the heat of that sunshine. That is another kind of awareness. At the same time, I can stop all this awareness and I can just be aware of my breath. How am I breathing? That's another type of awareness. Now, similarly, you can be aware of the super soul sitting in the heart, or you can be aware of Krishna. So, raising the consciousness means raising the consciousness from a particular plane of awareness to a higher plane of awareness.
Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Prabhuji,
Yeah, Mother.
so consciousness raises high, then person feels more emotions or more things, or
Don't go for emotions, Mataji. Emotions are not at the level of consciousness. Emotions are at the level of mind.
okay.
Emotions are at the level of mind. So anyone who has a mind will have emotions. No, correct?
Prabhuji, who have more consciousness, their mind must be working more, na?
But then when you say they should have more emotions, but then emotions for whom?
No, like our acharyas have compassion.
It's not like that. Their mind is working more. Is that their type of mind is different. Our mind is materially oriented. We feel material emotions. We have material feelings, and their mind is spiritualized. So they feel spiritual emotions. Right? It's the nature. The nature is different, right? The nature is different. Emotions
Like
are there. Now, someone may have a very degraded consciousness and may be very emotional. That is also possible, no? Very emotional. Like, for example, a demon has a very degraded consciousness, but that demon may be very emotional about what people say to him, and what people, how people insult him. And he may just get very emotional. One of the emotions is anger. Extremely angry. How could you say that to me?
So you mean to say the people who have raised consciousness, like our acharyas, have qualities like compassion, sacrifice, all these things. The people who have degraded consciousness have negative qualities more, like anger,
Yeah.
frustration.
Yes. And at the same time, both all are emotions. So when you say they are more emotional, that's wrong to say, because emotions are everywhere. It's just that the type of emotions are different. Hmm? Now, in our general day-to-day language, when you say this person is very emotional, that basically means this person easily cries, that person easily feels sad, easily feels hurt, isn't it? That's the general, you know, usage of that term, that this person is very emotional or that person is very soft towards everyone. You can say like that. Mm. But then emotion, everything is an emotion. I'm angry, that's also an emotion, right? Isn't it? You know, I am satisfied, that is also an emotion. I'm calm. Calmness is also an emotion, right or wrong? Isn't it? So, for example, if someone sees something and starts crying, whether the other person sees the same thing and is very calm, you can't say this person is more emotional than the other person. It's just that this person is showing the emotion of crying and the other person is showing the emotion of calm, of being calm. Mhm. Okay. Mm. Because emotion is a feeling. So calmness is also a feeling. You understand? Mm. Right? It's a feeling. Okay. Next verse, 2.18. Antavante ime deha nityasyoktah sharirnah anashino aprameyasya tasmadyuthyasva bharata. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Hmm. The soul was described, now the body is being described. And it is very opposite to the nature of soul. Hmm. What is being told about the body? Sharada Mataji, please read.
I'm just having some internet issues. Um, the body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately, or it may do so after 100 years. It is only a question of time. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit is so minute that it cannot even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. As mentioned in the previous verse, it is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. So from both viewpoints, it is so small that so from both viewpoints, there's no cause of lamentation, because the living entity as he is cannot be killed, nor can the material body be saved for any length of time or permanently protected. The minute particle of the whole spirit acquires this material body according to his work, and therefore observance of religious principles should be utilized. In the Vedanta Sutras, the living entity is qualified as light because he is part and parcel of the supreme light. As sunlight maintains the entire universe, so the light of the soul maintains this material body. As soon as the spirit soul is out of this material body, the body begins to decompose. Therefore, it is the spirit soul which maintains this body. The body itself is unimportant. Arjuna was advised to fight and not sacrifice the cause of religion for material bodily considerations.
Yes. Fine. So when we are bodily conscious, basically that means I'm I'm being punished. Bodily consciousness is itself a kind of punishment, you know. Why I'm being punished? Because my consciousness, which should be like a free bird, is now inside the cage of this body, you know. So becoming liberated basically means becoming free from this prison of body, right? Becoming free from this prison of body. Uh, that's called liberation. And then that liberation brings so much happiness because now the soul is free. Otherwise, the soul gets limited. Its consciousness gets limited, isn't it? Mhm. Uh, just to give you an example, if the body has a cut and I can feel the pain of that cut, I won't be able to enjoy anything else in life, right? So, isn't that painful experience limiting my happiness? Yes, it is. You know, so as long as body consciousness is there, I am not getting an opportunity to experience the real freedom which I have at the level of consciousness. And therefore, the body is kind of a suffering for the conditioned living entity. It's like a punishment. And it experiences that punishment, right? So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, when he's preaching, or now he's preaching to us now also, he's educating us that don't remain in that bodily consciousness, or don't think that that bodily consciousness should be the goal of your life. The goal of your life should be to rise from the bodily consciousness platform to this actual spiritual consciousness, to rise to that. Okay. Next verse, 2.19. Ya enam veti hantaram yasyainam manyate hatam ubhautau na vichanito nayam hunti na hunyate. Neither he who thinks the living entity the slayer, nor he who thinks it slain is knowledge. For the self slays, nor is slain. So he's saying, Arjuna is being told by Krishna, you can't kill. Why? Because the soul cannot be killed. So you can't kill. And if you think I am inspiring you to kill all of them, then I am also not the person who is instrument. I'm saying he who thinks the living entity the slayer or the slain is not in knowledge. No, right? For the self slays not is slain. Purport. Vardhani Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When an embodied living entity is hurt by fatal weapons, it is to be known that the living entity within the body is not killed. The spirit soul is so small that it is impossible to kill him by any material weapon, as will be evident from subsequent verses. Nor is the living entity killable because of his spiritual constitution. What is killed or is supposed to be killed is the body only. This, however, does not at all encourage killing of the body. The Vedic injunction is ma him ma himsyat hinsyat sarva bhutani. Never commit violence to anyone. Nor does understanding that the living entity is not killed encourage animal slaughter. Killing the body of anyone without authority is abominable and is punishable by the law of the state as well as by the law of the Lord. Arjuna, however, is being engaged in killing for the principle of religion and not whimsically.
So the soul cannot be killed, still we cannot just do violence. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. For the soul there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, he does not come into being, and will not come into being. Right? He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. You'll find that in these verses, there is sometimes repetition of the same thing. Again and again, Krishna is trying to use different attributes of the soul, different styles of presentation to convince Arjuna that the soul cannot be killed. The soul is immortal. Qualitatively, let's read the purport. Tulasi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Qualitatively, Creatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called the steady or bhuta. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformations. It takes its birth from the womb of the mother's body, remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. The soul, however, does not go through such stages. The soul is not born, but because he takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there, and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death, and because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present, or future. He is eternal, ever existing, and primeval. That is, there is no trace of his history of his coming into being. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of birth, etc., of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old, as the body does. The so-called old man therefore feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree, nor anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls, and owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the 6 changes of the body. In the Katha Upanishad 1.2.18, we also find a similar passage which reads, Najayate Maryate Va Vipaschin Nayan Kutashan Na Babu Kaschit Ajo Nityaha Sasvato Aham Purano Na Hanyate Hanyamane Sharire. The meaning and purport of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad-Gita, but here in this verse there is one special word, vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge, or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart, where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is therefore daytime. As soon as there is little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme Consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. The consciousness of individual soul is prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful in his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad-Gita would be useless. There are 2 kinds of souls, namely the minute particle, Anu Atma, and the supersoul, Vibhu Atma. This is also confirmed in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.20 in this way. Anur Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan Atmasya Janto Nihito Guhayam Tam Akratuhu pashyati vitas shoko dhatuhu prasadan mahiman nam atmanaha. Both the super soul, Paramatma, and the atomic soul, Jiva Atma, are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being, and only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the Supersoul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters, and Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Any questions?
Prabhuji, what is the difference between the consciousness of pure devotee and demigods?
Why should that be a query? I'm not able to understand where is that question coming from. Demigods, pure
I
devotee, normal living
I
entity.
no, I want to understand like us normal Jivatma, demigod also get anger. I know. I don't know how much extent. So like pure
Okay,
dev
now, do you think pure devotees don't get angry?
but they get angry for good only, but we get angry
No,
for
no,
all stupid
no, no.
things.
It's not about good or bad. They get angry for not. Don't go for good or bad, because again, good or bad may be something material, right? So, like for example, your parent is angry upon you for your good. Then how will you say that that anger is the same as a pure devotee's anger?
Oh my God. Pure devotee is compassionate. So
So
they
the
want us
parent is
to,
also compassionate, no? If you are not doing something properly, you are doing something harmful to you, then the parent is also compassionate. So then will you say that compassion of the pure devotee and parent is same?
no, no.
So we have to just understand a very basic thing. What is the basic thing? When it's a pure devotee, don't go by qualities, don't go by emotions, don't go by external things. Go by this understanding that that person is only interested in serving and pleasing Krishna. And in the service of Krishna, if it is required for that person to be angry, he can be super angry. More angry than you have seen a materialistic person getting angry. You know. Right? And in the service of Krishna, if that person is required to be soft, then he or she can be super soft. So
Yeah.
the understanding of pure devotional service is that consciousness is about what will satisfy Krishna, what will please Krishna. In that seva to Krishna, that devotee can also exhibit huge amount of anger. And so much anger that you may not be able to stand before that anger also. But if you see a pure devotee angry like that, still you know that that anger is transcendental because it is for Krishna, right? So let's not confuse emotions with consciousness. It's a very different thing. Externally, you can't judge a pure devotee based on what expressions or what emotions he or she is exhibiting. We can't judge. So we have to only look at one principle. What is that principle? The principle of surrender to Krishna. That's pure devotional service, right? Not the external thing. Like some pure devotee you may come across who is very soft. Some you may come across who is very, very, strong in speech and behavior. You know, someone may be very accommodating. Someone may be staying little aloof from everything and everyone. So these are external features. On that basis, you don't decide pure devotee or you don't evaluate pure devotional service. So don't come, let's not talk about it now. Pure devotee, pure devotional service. When we'll come to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, first of all, we'll understand the definition of pure devotional service. What is the definition of pure devotional service? And someone who is now following that definition is a pure devotee. Externally, however that person may be, doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Any other question?
Prabhuji, I had a small question. Prabhuji, the shlokas that we read today, we discussed about the qualities of the soul. One of which is like the soul is full of knowledge and is imperishable and everything. So I just wanted to understand, like we say, if whatever karma I as a soul doing in this body, so the soul is accountable for all of the karmas that body is doing. So like is that the reason like the soul is changing the body and everything? Is that understanding correct? Even if he being full of knowledge.
Please come again. Even if he's full of knowledge,
Even if soul is full of knowledge, still the soul is accountable for the karmas that body is doing, right?
the soul is full of knowledge in pure state. When the soul is in covered state, then the soul is not aware of the knowledge it has. Right? In the covered state, no. Only when in its pure state, then it is free from karma. But in the covered state, it is not, because in the covered state, the soul is identifying with the body and mind.
Right. So whatever qualities that we discussed are of the soul in the pure state.
Pure state. Yeah, in the pure state. In the covered state, it will function the way the body and mind dictates. But in the pure state, it is aloof and it will exhibit all these qualities. Right?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, next verse. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam ajam apvyayam kathang sa purushah partha kanghatayati hantikam. For Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Purport. Shri Hari Kirtan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Everything has its proper utility, and a man who is situated in complete knowledge knows how and where to apply a thing for its proper utility. Similarly, violence also has its utility, and how to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. Although the justice of the peace awards capital punishment to a person condemned for murder, the justice of the peace cannot be blamed, because he orders violence to another person according to the codes of justice. In Manu Samhita, the law book for mankind, it is supported that a murderer should be condemned to death so that in his next life he will not have to suffer for the great sin he has committed. Therefore, the king's punishment of hanging a murderer is actually beneficial. Similarly, when Krishna orders fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for supreme justice, and thus Arjuna should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all, because at any rate the man, or rather the soul, cannot be killed. So, for the administration of justice, so called violence is permitted. A surgical operation is not meant to kill the patient, but to cure him. Therefore, the fighting to be executed by Arjuna at the instruction of Krishna is with full knowledge, so there is no possibility of sinful reaction. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So what is being said here? That in general, violence is wrong. No doubt about it, right? But then it has its utility also. So from this one thing we understand, and we have to understand this very clearly, that in the creation of Krishna, everything has its utility. Everything. Even anger has its utility, violence has its utility, right? Everything has its utility. You can't say this is just bad, this is just good. For example, just a simple example Shirvat gives. If a boy is suffering from typhoid, so the doctor says he should not be eating uh, oily food, let's say. So at that time, when the boy asks for something oily, and you give that oily food to the boy, you can't call this as kindness. And even if you call it as kindness, this kindness is not beneficial. So kindness is a very good quality, but at this moment, in this situation, this kindness becomes the worst quality actually for that boy. You know. So everything has its utility. Similarly, anger has its utility, violence has its utility, every single thing has utility. What is good intelligence? What is mature intelligence? When to use what? Right? When to use what? So yeah, we have to know that. Therefore, here Krishna is telling Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya. Here is the actual need of violence. So you be violent. You can't say no, non-violence is highest dharma, so let me practice non-violence. At this point, no. So it has its proper discharge and it has its misuse also. So the intention has to be very clear. What is the intention? If the intention is proper, then the expression of that intention may be something different or from what the other person expects or desires. Like, for example, the child is desiring, my mom should be always kind and compassionate upon me. But what is the expression that the child is expecting? My mom should never say me anything. I should not do this. I should not do that. Should not chastise me. Should not beat me. Should not put restrictions upon me. So then the child has a certain definition of compassion or kindness, and is expecting that expression. But the mom, when she sees that he or she is not listening, may give a tight slap. But that is also compassion because the intention of the mom is to correct you or check you from doing wrong. So the intent is more important, and uh, that intention is basically the main thing which will decide whether what you did is correct or you did wrong. How do you express that intention? That will be based on the time, place, circumstance. That cannot be the same. That will change. Sometimes love will be shown by being angry upon the other person, and sometimes love will be shown by appreciating the other person. Isn't it? So here Krishna is telling Arjuna that violence is required. He has to do it. And this is good for them. It's good for them. So we have to do it. Vasang sijirnani yatha vihaya navani grinnati narokarani tatha vihaya jirnani तथा शरीरानि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Perfect. Sangarsha Vishnu Prabhuji, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Change of the body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of the body and appear from the childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to the youth, and again from youth to the old age. From old age, the change is transferred to the another body. This has already been explained in the previous verse 2.13. Transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the super soul. The super soul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Vedas, like the Mukunda Upanishad, as well as Sevataswatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the super soul in two friendly super soul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the bird, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are at the same quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna, of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, and Arjun is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another, or from one body to another. The jiva soul is strangling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as a supreme spiritual master, as Arjun agreed to do by voluntary surrender unto Krishna's instruction, the subordinate body immediately becomes free from all lamentations. Both the Bhagavad Upanishad 3.1.2 and Sevastra Upanishad 4.7 confirms this. Samayan Viksha Puruso Nimagano Nisanya Sochati Murya Mani Justam Yada Pasyati Anyam Isam Asya Mahimanam Iti Vita Shokah. Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But in some way or other, he turns his face to his friend, the Lord Krishna, his glories. At once, the suffering bird becomes free from all anxiety. Arjun has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad-Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Arjun is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies on the righteous fight, so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. one who lays down his life on the sacrificer altar or in the proper battlefield at, is at once cleansed the body reactions and promoted to a high status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this verse talks about transmigration, the soul, going to the next body. It's explained in a way that we change our clothes, the body remains the same. Similarly, the soul remains the same, the bodies get changed. So when the body becomes old for the soul, or becomes useless for the soul, or the tenure for which the soul can reside or could reside in the body is over, the soul moves on, right? And then it's explained that the body is like a tree. The tree has bird on it. Two birds are there. One is just watching, the other is trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree. So the bird which is trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree is the individual soul. And they are two, they two are friendly in nature, friendly towards each other. One is a big bird and the other is a small. So the bird which is small is enjoying the fruit. Fruit can be of two types, sweet or sour. Sweet fruit means good karma, bad or sour fruit means bad karma. So the bird one is the super soul, master and watching. The bird two is atomic soul, servant, captivated, right? Struggling, anxious, morose. Mm. And then when the body, the time is over, this bird, which is bird number two, moves from this tree to another tree, which means another body. Only if this bird has forgotten the relationship with the other bird. But if it revives the relationship with the other bird, it doesn't have to go to the next tree, the next body. That's all, that's our story basically. We are trying to enjoy the fruits produced by the body. The body will give us fruits, good fruit, bad fruit, happiness and distress. And we are trying to enjoy those fruits. Right? Fine. Next verse.
Hare Krishna,
Right?
Prabhuji.
Yes,
One,
ma'am.
maybe a silly one. I just coming to my mind. You know how they talk about like medically dead a lot of times, right? A person is like declared dead and they're given a shock and they come to revive and they actually have a normal life. So wondering how that happens. Is it because the soul has more life and it comes back to the body? I don't know what. Just wanted to check on that. The second question, it also here says sacrificial. If one lies like his life on the basically gives his life in the sacrificial altar, they go to the higher status. Like, what does that mean, Prabhuji? Like, if you die in a specific place.
Yes, ma'am. So when you say about being medically dead or clinically dead, and then they try to bring life back. Basically, you see, um, if the hardware stops functioning properly, the software will not run, isn't it? In my Android phone, Android is the software, and the external structure is the hardware, which can be made by Samsung or Oppo or other companies, right? So if the hardware stops functioning properly, the software will also not do what it's supposed to do. Similarly, when the body has some problem, there is something wrong in the organ of the body, then the functionality is not being done. So then the soul can go from the body, leave the body. Whatever. Now, if we try to revive that organ of the body, and we are able to. And if the time period of the soul to stay in the body is still there, then the soul will come back again.
Prabhuji,
So
are you saying the soul is still in the body?
the soul is still in the body in the sense that it has not left completely. It's not left completely. It's not completely disconnected. So if the body becomes functional again, the soul can enter again. But if it becomes totally uh, unfunctional, dysfunctional, or the time period of the soul is over, then it cannot be called back. So when they say medically dead, clinically dead, it says that they are not able to see the symptom. And then they try to revive, and if the organ starts functioning properly, then the soul comes back or is able to work through the body. So then they see the symptom of life again. And sometimes it is also explained in this version, Prabhupada says about coma, the stage of coma. So he says that in the stage of comatose, uh, the soul is kept in a waiting period where the decision is not yet made of whether the soul will be staying further in the body or the soul has to move on to the next destination. So therefore, that period is when the soul goes into coma. Present also, not present outside oneself. So if it is decided by higher authorities that the soul can continue, then it gets revived. If the higher authorities they decide, no, no, it's up, time up, and the person dies.
Can prayers bring soul back?
Some people have the power to do that, but not just that. They do it and it's going to happen for everyone.
And also, I had that second question, Prabhuji, that sacrificial altar. What is that, Prabhuji? Like,
Sacrificial altar means here, what is being said is when a Brahmana he sacrifices an animal, right? So that animal gets a higher birth. That is also violence, no? Killing the animal at that time. But the result of that violence is that that animal gets a higher birth. Like here, Kshatriyas, example is given, Kshatriyas when killed on the battlefield, they get higher birth.
yes, okay. And also in the battlefield, regardless of whether you're fighting for dharma or not, are we saying that they will reach a higher status, Prabhuji? Like even the Kaurava, like the army, everybody, regardless of how they have led their life, if they die in the battlefield, are we saying they'll go to a higher planet?
Yeah, the reason for the battle of Kurukshetra is that Krishna was present on the battle.
So that's obviously not applicable for any battle.
Yes.
Like the present day ones. Okay.
The present day
Prabhuji,
battles are no way Dharma Yuddha. They are not battles for Dharma. That is just for power, control, resources, like that. So how is it Dharma Yuddha?
Prabhuji, it is said that the like Kauravas, they will get moksha, but they will get am I right? I don't know. They will get Brahman, but Arjuna's at the end of the life, they will go back to Godhead. So is it like that or?
Yeah, you can think like that. The Pandavas, you should know that the Pandavas, they don't go back to God in the sense that they don't enter into Golok Vrindavan or Goloka planet. There are two back to goddess. You can understand in this way. One is Krishna's Nitya Leela, which happens in spiritual world, which is Golok Dham. And then there is Krishna's Nitya Leela, which happens on planet Earth, in the material universe. Okay, both are Nitya Leelas. Nitya Leela is eternally happening. Krishna's Nitya Leela happening in Golok, and Krishna's Nitya Leela happening in material realm. That is also Nitya Leela. No? For example, Krishna, becoming the son of Vasudev, Kunti's nephew, and then the Mahabharata war. So every time Krishna appears in any new world, this happens. So Arjuna and the other Pandavas, they are eternal associates of Krishna in Krishna's Bhauman Nitya Leela. So, I mean, you may get confused, therefore, I don't want to get into detail of this. But that is also back to back to God. Back to God, it basically means you are back to Krishna's Nitya Leela, right? That's what it means. So, yes, Pandavas are always in Krishna's Nitya Leela. And for your surprise, the Kauravas are also always in Krishna's Nitya Leela. It's just that one is playing the role of the hero and the other is playing the role of the villain. Okay.
Prabhuji, we can say that present day wars are not there to please Krishna.
Yes, and they are not also based on dharma because they don't know what is dharma. So how can they call it dharma yuddha?
So that means these Kauravas are also belated devotees of Krishna.
Yes, they are serving Krishna, but indirectly. It's like who is Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksh?
Jai Vijay.
So you should know that anyone who plays the role of villain in Krishna's pastime is also better than all of us in one sense. Better than all of us in one sense. Though a villain, but that person is in Krishna's team, troop, again, going everywhere with Krishna. He was just playing the negative role. Okay, next verse number 24, 23. नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्ति आपो न शोषयन्ति मारुतः. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, not burned by fire, not moistened by water, not withered by the wind. Again, don't you think it's the same thing being told? Yeah, it is almost the same. Why? Arjuna may say, I'm a great warrior and I have powerful weapons. Krishna is saying, your all weapons are useless. You can't do anything to this soul. You can't dry it, you can't burn it, you can't moisten it, you can't cut it. Nothing can happen to the soul. Okay? However, please feel.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. All kinds of weapons, swords, flame weapons, rain weapons, tornado weapons, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to the modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons, but formerly there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Fire weapons were counteracted by water weapons. which are now unknown to modern science. Nor do modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. The Mayavadi cannot explain how the individual soul came into existence simply by ignorance and consequently became covered by the illusory energy, nor was it ever possible to cut the individual souls from the original Supreme Soul. Rather, the individual souls are eternally separated uh, parts of the Supreme Soul because they Supreme Soul. Because they are atomic individual souls eternally, Sanatana, they are prone to be covered by the illusory energy and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of a fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Vada Puran, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to the Bhagavad-Gita also. So, even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Next verse. अचेद्योऽयमदाह्योऽयम् अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतः स्थाणुरचलेयं सनातनः. If Arjuna may say, okay, my weapons are not that powerful, therefore the soul cannot be destroyed. But then someone else's weapons, something like that. So here Krishna is saying, no, the quality of the soul is that it is indestructible, insoluble, it cannot be burned. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burned or not dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Okay? It is immovable. What does that mean? The soul doesn't move?
Must be carried by super soul only.
It is immovable. What does that mean?
Prabhuji, the intrinsic qualities of the soul does not change.
Yeah, the intrinsic nature of the soul is same. That doesn't change, right? But then, okay, another question to you all. But does the soul move like the body?
No,
No, Prabhuji, no. No, it does not move.
Soul doesn't
it,
move?
it does not move like a body.
So if you are sitting in the room and then you go to your from dining room to bedroom, the body went, right? Did the soul also go?
No,
Yes, no. Maybe, may not be.
Prabhuji, it might not move like a body, but somewhere it's explained like, some people due to their sadhanas or highest forms of meditation or yoga, they might see the other things with the help of their, soul traveling from the one place to another and then come back into the body like that.
So the soul moves, but then the plane in which the soul moves is different from the plane in which the body moves,
Yeah.
right? So that's how the difference is. Just like the mind, it moves at a different plane. You might be sitting in your room physically, but your mind might be somewhere else. So the body is there, but the mind is moving somewhere else because it's moving at a different plane. Similarly, the soul moves on a different plane. But when it is said it's immovable, as Prabhu said, it means it doesn't move from its nature, intrinsic nature, that is fixed. That doesn't change. You know. Uppecha Mataji, please.
All these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same atom eternally without change. The theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. After liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. The word Sarvagata, all pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. They live on the land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, and even within the fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burned by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless.
Sarvagataha, everywhere. The soul is everywhere. That means life is everywhere. Right? Everywhere it is. Text 25.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I have one doubt. Can I ask?
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, like in this shloka, we read that it is immovable or it remains fixed. But Prabhuji, like right now, we have forgotten that we are soul or we have forgotten the qualities. So, how to see that? Thank you, Prabhuji.
Can you repeat, Mataji?
Prabhuji, like my question is that here we have read that soul is immovable or it remains fixed. But then, Prabhuji, how we have forgotten that we are soul, like we are no more at the soul's level or we are functioning at body. So, how to see these
It
two
is
things?
immovable in its nature. The nature has not changed. The nature is still there. It's just that the nature has got covered. Hmm? Like, for example, there's a light, there's a bulb, and that bulb is on. It's emitting light. You just cover that bulb with something that the light becomes blocked. The bulb has not changed. It has not stopped giving light. What has changed is that there is now an obstruction. So similarly, the soul is same, but the problem is because of the body and mind. You remove the body and mind, it will be back to its original nature. Right? So there is no change in the soul. However, amount of sins might be done or good things might be done. The soul is not touched by anything else. What is affected by it is the body, the mind. And because the soul is associated with it, it is also affected.
Like Prabhuji, intrinsic nature is to serve, so that is not changed. Like you can see that.
Yeah, that's nature to serve or that nature to be subservient to Krishna. That's always there. It's just that it is covered. So when it is covered, then instead of serving Krishna, one is serving something else, someone else, or oneself. I mean, one's body. Oneself is one's body, one's mind, oneself. Right? Next verse.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Verse number 5. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmad evam viditvainam Nanushochitumarhasi. It is said that the soul is invisible. Invisible means prataksha. We can't see it. Our physical senses cannot perceive the soul. Then it is inconceivable. That means you can't even just imagine about it. It is beyond the imagination. And immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the world. That is the main message. Don't grieve for the world. Don't grieve for the world. Chanakya.
Perfect. As described previously, the magnitude of the soul is so small for our material calculation that he cannot be seen even by the most powerful microscope. Therefore, he is invisible. As far as the soul's existence is concerned, no one can establish his existence experimentally beyond the proof of Shruti or Vedic wisdom. We have to accept this truth because there is no other source of understanding the existence of the soul, although it is a fact by perception. There are many things we have to accept solely on grounds of superior authority. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon the authority of his mother. There is no source of understanding the identity of the father except by the authority of the mother. Similarly, there is no source of understanding the soul except by studying the Vedas. In other words, the soul is inconceivable by human experimental knowledge. The soul is consciousness and conscious. That also is the statement of the Vedas, and we have to accept that. Unlike the bodily changes, there is no change in the soul. As eternally unchangeable, the soul remains atomic in comparison to the infinite Supreme Soul. The Supreme Soul is infinite, and the atomic soul is infinitesimal. Therefore, the infinitesimal soul, being unchangeable, can never become equal to the infinite soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This concept is repeated in the Vedas in different ways just to confirm the stability of the conception of the soul. Repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Next verse. Atha chainam nityajatam nityam vamanyase mritam. Yes, Prabhu?
Mutation of genes pertains to the bodily aspect only. Mutation of genes. Mutation of genes pertains to the bodily aspect only.
Of course.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Atha chainam nityajatam nityam vamanyase mritam tathapi tam mahabhao nainam shochitam arhasi. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life, now here Krishna is kind of telling Arjuna, if you don't believe in what I'm saying, you don't accept the soul and body truth the way I'm explaining, you are coming from a different kind of philosophical background, then also you should fight only, Arjuna. Basically, Krishna is bringing up now different kinds of philosophies where they have wrong conceptions of the soul and body identity. And Krishna is telling, even if you deny what I said so far, and you have some other understanding about the soul, still, I can convince you that you should fight on. So he's saying, if, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, Almighty Atma. Okay. Now, this is a different kind of philosophy, which Prabhupada is going to explain in the purport. The Buddhists, they have this philosophy. What is that? That uh, the body and the soul is the same. And you do reincarnate, you do take birth again, but you take birth again as the same body. Again and again you come. Which means they don't believe in a a person in a human body becoming an animal in the next life. No. They believe in reincarnation, but their understanding of reincarnation is what? If you are a human, you will be human only again when you are born. Then again, if you take birth in future, you will be again, human. And if you're an animal, then you'll be born again next life, you'll be again an animal only. which means they think that the body and soul are connected to each other. But our understanding is not that. Our understanding is soul is totally different from the body. And when it is born again, it can be born in any form. Okay? Therefore, in Buddhists, they think the chief guru for them, whom they call as the Lama. So their understanding is the same person, the same Lama who is born again and again. You know, so purport. There's always a class of philosophers. Let's read this. Antaranga,
Prabhuji, Prabhuji, can I ask one thing?
after the reading for the
Okay,
purport.
okay, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, shall I read? Hare Krishna Prabhuji, shall I? Yeah. There is
Yes.
always a class of philosophers, almost akin to the Buddhist, who do not always believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed, and they were known as the Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. Such philosophers maintain that life symptoms take place at a certain mature condition of the body of the material combination. The modern material scientists and materialist philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage, the life symptoms develop by interaction of the physical and chemical elements. The science of the anthropology is based on this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo religions now becoming fashionable in America are also adhering to this philosophy, as are the nihilistic, non devotional Buddhist sects. Even if Arjuna did not believe in the existence of the soul, as in the Vaibhashika philosophy, there would still have been no cause of lamentation. No one laments the loss of certain bulk of chemicals and stop discharging his prescribed duty. On the other hand, in the modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vaibhashika philosophy, the so called soul or Atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. So, in any case, whether Arjuna accepted the Vedic conclusion that there is an atomic soul or he did not believe in the existence of the soul, he had no reason to lament. According to this theory, since there are so many living entities generating out of matter every moment, and so many of them are being vanquished every moment, there is no need to grieve for such incidents. If there were no rebirth for the soul, Arjuna had no reason to be afraid of being affected by sinful reactions due to his killing his grandfather and teacher. But at the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjuna as Mahabahu, mighty armed, because he at least did not accept the theory of Vaibhashikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna belonged to the Vedic culture and behooved it behooved him to continue to follow its principles. Hare Krishna.
Okay, let's stop here. Any questions or comments? Yes, Abhay Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, it is said that the soul will always be born and die forever. So if the soul is die forever, then how it can born again?
Die forever here doesn't mean that forever it is dead. Die forever means just like it is born again and again, similarly it will die again and again.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, one question. In microorganisms, also there are these five airs that we talked about. Like, I mean, where they.
Yes. It's everywhere.
Okay.
5 years have to be present because if there is no air, how will there be movement?
Okay.
any kind of movement, physical movement, mental movement, is because of the air. If there's no air, even we can't have thoughts coming in and going out of our mind.
Okay.
Are thoughts there in microorganism or animals? Means it must be limited now, very limited.
What?
Thoughts in animals
It's
are
thoughts. Yeah,
like
it
we
is limited. It's limited. It's limited. But it doesn't mean that it's not there. It is there, but it's limited.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Manish.
Prabhuji, actually, I was attending the quiz for chapter 1. I just had one question out of which, like, I got the answer incorrect. Can I ask that?
Yes.
There was this question that we are always obliged to stick to our duty, whether the outcome is good or bad. The answer was false. So I just could not understand. Like we should do our duty even if the outcome is good or bad, right? Could not find the
Prabhupada
reference.
writes in the purport, isn't it? Obligation is binding only if the result is good.
Oh, so what about the duty then, Prabhuji? We,
You see, duty you are supposed to do. Fine. Now, if you already know that I'm going to do it, when after me doing it, if you do something wrong to someone or to me or to in general, then why you do it? Like for example, in this case, Arjuna's duty is to fight the Kshatriya. But then Arjuna knows that the result of this fighting will be bad only. You can already see that. So then why should he fight?
but
Here,
then
good and
it
bad
was
is
advised to
here,
be du
here good and bad is not about your personal comfort and discomfort
Mhm.
or your personal sense gratification or not. Here, good and bad is about, in general, the outcome of that. If you look at the result of it on you, on the surrounding, on everyone, right?
Right.
Like to give you an example, we'll discuss about this personality later. There was a man of the name Oppenheimer, right? Who was the first to, you can say, invent nuclear bomb, atomic bomb. So if let's say you already know that this weapon can bring mass destruction, but the government is telling you, no, no, because we are paying you, you are our scientist and you have to do the research and bring out such a weapon. So that time you can't say, because I am a scientist working for the government, I'm obliged, so I should do it. No, here you're being dutiful. It's not bringing any good result at all. So then can you say I was obliged? That's why I had to work for the country. You can't. You can give up that obligation.
So, Prabhuji, similarly, we can also take example of Bhishma Dev, right? Like,
Yeah, Bhishmadev could have also said no to Duryodhana. I'm not going to fight for you. But then Bhishmadev fought for Duryodhana because Krishna wanted him to fight for Duryodhana.
and one more, Prabhuji, there was this question, the flag of Dash had lion on it. So the answer was Bhima. So I was just wondering, like, was it written in the first chapter? Because I could not find it.
It was not in the book, but it was in the PDF. I shared the PDF with you all.
Okay, so we have to refer the, yeah, PPT as well.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Thank you,
Oh,
Prabhuji.
thank you. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada.